3,036 pounds, ready to run. We weighed it yesterday before we took it off the ground. And that's a fully functional street car. These things weigh in, generally speaking, you know, they hit the road at about 3,800 to 4,000 pounds. So that's a pretty good accomplishment. All steel, right? All real glass, full interior, completely streetable. It's got everything, it doesn't have wipers. Wipers are gone. But it has headlights, taillights, turn signals, all of that stuff. I'm a weight freak. I'm a purity freak, right? And there are reasons I do certain things. So I'm gonna explain that, because there's always a lot. Anytime we do anything weight related, there's always a lot of like misunderstandings as to why I do certain things a certain way. But we're working on this car now. This is one we're ready to start flogging on. So, in its simplest terms, right? Performance is power versus weight. How much weight does the engine have to move around? If you have a 200 horsepower engine, it's going to move a 2,000 pound car a lot easier than it's going to move a 4,000 pound car. You will feel that difference. And that's what this is. This car is both an exercise in frugality and creative workarounds. We still have less than $1,000 in this car. And weight and simplicity and purity is like key to making it run. So we did the weigh-in video the other day, and this thing was 2,106 pounds minus the prop rod. So I've got to get 7 pounds out of the car to meet my goal of under 2,100 pounds. And then of course, I got to do something here too, right? But every time we do a weight-oriented video, there's always in the comments, there's always like misunderstandings as to like my motivations for doing certain things and why I, you know. So I want to go through that. I want to show you guys the things that I've done on this car to remove weight, and I want to address some of the stuff that you brought up. Now the first thing I want to talk about is window glass, right? A lot of guys in the comments were, get rid of the glass, put plexiglass in there, right? I've had plexiglass. I lived in funny car hell for a long time, right? There's plastic windows are something you will never under any circumstances see on a car of mine. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't have them. By all means, put the plastic windows in the car. But there are two reasons why I'll never have them. The first is that you become a slave to the plastic. If I feel like not screwing around with this car for, let's say, a year or two, I can roll this thing outside and it'll just sit in the elements. And when I'm ready to go play with it again, I roll it back in and she's all ready to go. Blow the dust off and go. The glass allows me to do that. But the second and crucial reason in this particular car is because it has so little horsepower, I need to have the center of gravity high in order for it to transfer weight back. And this glass may be a 50-pound, 60-pound penalty over the equivalent plastic. But look where it is. It's at the highest portion of the car. In this car, for weight transfer purposes, the roof is the most valuable section of it. Then the glass, then this. Everything above the axle center line is needed to transfer weight because it doesn't have enough horsepower to do it on its own. No matter how you look at it, at the end of the day, you know, yeah, it's a pretty strong slant, right? But it's still a weed whacker. If it makes 250 horsepower, that's asking a lot from it. But I wanted to show you guys through this car, one end to the other, the things that we've done. Now, it's a steel hood, and that's one of the reasons we talked about before, you know, about being cheap with this, right? I wanted to use a steel hood. I could have a lift-off fiberglass hood, but you know, you're looking at spending $500 or $600 for one. They warp, they get old, chungat, right? So with this one, I used the steel hood, and it's too heavy, too cumbersome if I'm by myself to just pull off the car. And that's why it still has these hinges. But the springs are gone, and I've drilled holes through the hinges, and it's as light as you could make a steel hood and still keep it structurally rigid. So that's why it's got a steel hood, and that's why it'll stay a steel hood. Holes. If you look around, I have drilled 1,000 holes in this car. And people will look at this, and I've heard it in the comments, and they're like, you know, you gotta be crazy spending all the time drilling holes. I didn't spend any time drilling holes at all. You know what I did? When I had my last shop like this, I had this car parked in front of the office, or right outside the office. And I kept a drill with a step bit on the car. And every time I would go in or out of the office, I would stop, grab the step bit, and just make a hole or two. If I was like leisurely moving around, I'd do like 6 holes. If I was in a rush, I'd grab it and do 1 hole. So I really actually didn't spend any time drilling these holes at all. And yeah, they do add up. Nothing is lighter than a hole. If you take all of the metal that's missing out of this, and put it in your hand, you're looking at probably 15 pounds of metal. It doesn't seem like a lot when you look at it. It's just a hole here and a hole here, but it adds up. And a lot of people question the structural rigidity of this. So it's a unibody car, and unibody cars use these inner frame rails here that are normally here as structure, okay? But because this car is so radically lightened, the only part of the shell that's being supported here by the frame rail, by the main bulkhead area, is the firewall, the cowl, which has been lightened. Everything's been cut out from underneath it. All of the the venting, and the windshield. That's it. It's not like it's a full car with a full load that's going to be bouncing over roads and have that problem like this. There's actually no flex to this car at all. It's so light, thoroughly lightened all the way around, that I can jack it up by the frame rail here and open and close both doors, and there's no problem. So that's what we've got going on over here. Interior. Let's look at the interior. So a lot of comments were, get rid of the window regulators. Okay, I'm 15 steps ahead of you. By the way, we even waited with the helmet in it because that's got to go for the ride. So as you can see, the back sections where the back windows would normally, all the roll-down mechanisms would normally be, is missing completely, and there's an aluminum channel here that holds up the rear windows. So nothing there. I did cut out the cross bracing at the package shelf. There's pieces that go like this, and those are crucial to the rigidity of a unibody car. But this is actually a thick piece of aluminum that's riveted all the way around, and it's stiff enough. There's no give to any of this. And then this also, because I've got the fuel cell and the battery in the back, this has to be sealed off. So this is also the same piece of thick aluminum. So that's what's going on with that. Obviously, we went through the whole car. All of the sound deadener is gone. All of the insulation, anything that is extraneous weight. I didn't take any and will not take any weight out of the unibody structure because I have absolutely no plans at all of putting a roll cage in this car or a roll bar. It has to go quicker than 1150 and a quarter mile in order to do that, and I seriously doubt this car is going to go quicker than 1150 and a quarter mile. So I want to be able to run it without a roll bar, and the only way I can do that with peace of mind is by keeping the complete unibody structure, or the crash section of the unibody, completely intact. So this car is safe. At the front, yeah, I know I left the dashboard in place. I drilled a lot of holes in it, right? But I don't know, there was just something, I had it out of the car and I just didn't like the way it looked. I don't know, okay, it's an esoteric thing, so I left it in there. But again, it's stripped, it's gutted, it only weighs about 3 pounds, and it's above the center of gravity of the car, so it's okay, it can come for the ride. The steering column, I still have to fabricate or unfabricate the steering column in that car and get that the bud, where the column control used to be, off of there. You can see the brake pedal is cut in half. No sense in that thing coming, half of a brake pedal coming along for a ride. And this car was a stick, so that's there. The shifter's a little on the heavy side. It's a new TCI shifter, but you know what? It'll do the job. Now on the doors, on the driver's side, we left some of the structure in there to mount for the inside door release, inside door latch, because obviously you got to get in and out of the door. On the passenger side door here, we completely gutted everything out. And to roll the windows up and down, we stole this idea from the 1968 Hemi Darts and Hemi Cudas. You just loosen the strap, the window goes down, clip it back on, the window stays up. It doesn't get any lighter or any simpler than that. And just in case I've got to get out of the car ever from the passenger side, I left this piece of latch linkage in here so that I could just click it with my thumb and pop the door open. Wheels. A lot of you guys were like, oh, you got to put aluminum wheels on the front. I know. I'm looking for the right set. I need a set of, these are 13 by 4.5, and these are the lightest tires I could put on it. I never weighed these tires and rims individually, but they're light. I mean, like, seriously light. I will eventually find what I'm looking for, which is a set of 14 or 15 inch by 4.5 slots. I got a thing for slot mags. But they're not going to be much lighter than these. So, yeah, it's a steel rim. Yeah, it's a regular DOT tire, but you know what? It's light. And of course, you see what we have on the back. All right, so now on to the back of the car. I mean, it's obvious the taillight bezels are gone, and we just riveted an aluminum plate in there. Trunk lid. I had this thing where you lift it off, and you put it on the side. It was a colossal pain in the ass. So I added these 2 cabinet hinges, and the trunk lid comes off just by pulling these pins. All right. Here, let me show you what we got. So you can see all the bracing has gone out of it, and it's held in place. It attaches to the car with these tubes and these bolts right here that I drilled through for the hitch pins. Battery goes here. Now you notice it has no trunk. This is something I'm not sure what I'm going to do with yet. I may sheet it with thin aluminum just to fill it out. And some tracks, not all tracks, but some tracks will, on a faster car it makes a difference. On a slower car, they generally don't tech like this, but this fuel cell is supposed to have metal underneath it. So I may sheet this whole thing in aluminum at some point, lightweight aluminum, but for right now I'm going to run it the way it is. There is some question as to how much air is going to get trapped by the trunk lid, and my plan is to eventually make some back-to-back runs, and with the trunk lid on and with the trunk lid off, to see how much drag is involved in that. But again, see, this car is as simple and as pure as possible. Even it got to the point, it weighs so little. Here, come down here. It weighs so little that in order to get the car to sit right, I actually had to pull a whole leaf spring out of the driver's side, and I cut one in half for the passenger side. Like on Bottle Rocket, I got an air shock on the right rear, and that's to preload the suspension so so that there's no twist. And then it's a 3-way adjustable drag shock on the other side. It has a 7 1/4 in it. That's junk. It's gonna break. You're gonna break it. No, it's not junk. I'm not gonna break it. This car weighs 2,100 pounds, 2,300 pounds, and it has about 250 horsepower with an automatic transmission. I could dead hook this thing all day, all night, and it will never hurt that rear because it's so light. And that's one of the virtues of building a car like this. Because it not only is it light, but it also it takes less horsepower to turn. The bigger the rear, the more power you've got to put through it, the more it robs from the motor. And when you're talking about, like I said, it's a weed whacker under the hood of this thing. Every horsepower, every half a horsepower counts. And so that 7 1/4 is there to do the job. It has welded spider gears and a 410 gear set. I want a deeper gear for it. Really, I'd like to have 456s, 488s, but they're not available. So it's got 410s in it for right now. It's got a steel drive shaft in it because, you know why? Because an aluminum or carbon fiber drive shaft would be more money than I've got invested in all of these cars combined. So it's going to stay there. It's got the 904 that was built by John Wilburn, and it's got a TCI 4,000 RPM converter in it. So that's the tour of the car. I think I covered all of the things that people brought up in the comments on it. But I love this thing. I get a kick out of it, and we're gonna get this get some numbers on it within the next week or two. We're just about finished settling into the shop, so we can start thinking about taking stuff to the track. So this will be the first thing to go to the track. And that's pretty much. Oh yeah, somebody mentioned about the hood. the scoop, I took the scoop off, right? It's got a snorkel scoop on it. It had a scoop. I took the scoop off, and then I realized I really wasn't happy with the height difference, and it limited me. I can't add spacers. There's very little I can do. I'm like locked into this configuration. So I said, you know, to hell with it. So I recut everything back out, put the scoop back on it, and that's where the scoop is on there for now. So that's it. Oh, see, I keep forgetting. Put an aluminum master cylinder in it. I have an aluminum master cylinder for it. I just haven't gotten around to drilling the holes. I don't want to bother with the adapter. The aluminum master cylinder bolts onto these things perfectly if you just drill a hole exactly between these two. So I just need to get around to swapping it. I'll probably do it before we take it to the track. That's it. So there's the tour of the car. If you have any questions, throw them there in the comments. And I keep forgetting things. People see the fan that's on here. Here, come around to that side. The fan. Get rid of the fan. It's robbing horsepower. No, it's not robbing. It's not robbing a single horsepower. Okay, this fan is set up. This is one of those plastic fans. It weighs like next to nothing, which is why it's on here. And they create tremendous resistance because of the attack angle here. Now, normally that's a problem. Okay, because it's going to push a ton of air, it's going to rob a ton of power. Right? But in this case, the belt, there's no idler pulley on here. The belt is just loose around the crankshaft pulley and the water pump pulley. When this thing is idling, when it's just sitting there idling, or driving around at slow speeds, right? Let's say you're driving it through the pits or whatever. This thing spins exactly at the ratio it's supposed to. It keeps the water pump moving. You can sit and run this car until it runs out of gas, and the temperature never goes over 180 degrees. As soon as you give it gas, all of that wind resistance stops this fan. Like you hit the throttle on this thing, and you can almost watch the fan just slow down because the belt slips like crazy. It doesn't take any horsepower at all. It's lighter than an electric unit. It's simpler than an electric unit. So that's why that's it on there. I know I'm going to forget something. I'll remember it right after we're done shooting this video, but I don't want to spend all day doing it. So that's it for now. And any questions, throw them in the comments. I'll see you tomorrow. And yes, I even drilled holes in the door handles, and I used a 1968 only plastic door buttons for it.